We're continuing with our discussion of the materials of music. There are three primary areas under the materials of music: melody, harmony, and the third one is rhythm. So we're going to start with rhythm this morning. The definition of rhythm is the organized movement of music in time. The organized movement of music in time. I'd like for you to take a look at a composition. So on your computer, just pull up some sort of composition. Maybe you look for My Country 'Tis of Thee that we took a look at in the first segment. When looking at the actual composition, you see several symbols. One of them it would be the treble clef, and then one would be like a backwards C right below it, the bass clef. Treble clef and bass clef are indications of what voices or what instruments are going to be using those particular lines. The treble clef actually tells you which note is G on the staff on the 5 lines. The treble clef is drawn, and you have all these circlings, and where the clef circles around a particular note, any note that lies on that line is G, and so we have a placement point, and all the other notes then fall into place. The bass clef, there's 2 dots out beside it, and those dots surround a line. Any note that lies on that line is an F, and then therefore we have all the placements of the notes around that. Following the treble and bass clef, then you might see a collection of couple of sharps, or 3 sharps, or 4 sharps, or 3 or 4 flats, or maybe nothing at all. All of that is the indication of which scale is going to be used. And then following that placement, there's going to be a fractional looking thing. The fractional looking thing is called the time signature, or the meter. And this is what governs the organized movement of music in time. So if you have a composition that is in 3/4 time, 3 is the top number, 4 is the bottom, that tells you a lot of specific information. The meter, or the time signature, does not govern the rhythm for the entire composition, but instead it tells you what's going on in the building blocks of that composition. In a measure, it's called. Look in your piece of music, look at your My Country 'Tis of Thee, and notice these bar lines that are drawn in. So between the fraction and the first bar line is your first measure. That would mean that there has to be 3 beats in that measure, 3 being the top number. The bottom number tells you what type of note, what note value is equal to a beat. With it being a 4, it's a quarter note. Quarter note being a 4th of the whole, you might remember it that way. So if you have 3 quarter notes in that measure, each of those quarter notes is worth 1 beat. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 then equals 3. So you have that magic number that it tells you. If you had a couple of eighth notes and then 2 quarter notes, the eighth note is half of a quarter. So by having 2 eighths, the 2 together equals 1 beat, and then the other 2 quarter notes are 1 beat apiece as well. So you can take a look at every single measure of the composition and make sure that it adds to 3. There are a lot of other meters. There's 3/2 time, there's 6/8 time, or 4/4 time. So look at your PowerPoint now. At the bottom of the page where we're first discussing rhythm, then you see a series of different time signatures, and they're in 2 different rows. Time signatures fall into 2 different scenarios. Either they are simple meters or they're compound meters. A simple meter means that you have duple time, triple time, or quadruple time, and it is very simple for you to tell the difference between duple, triple, and quadruple, and for you to tell the difference between simple and compound. Look at the top number in the first row. 2/4 time, 2/8 time, 2/16. Those are 3 separate meters. all with 2 as the top number. So that places that in the duple category. The next 3 are examples of triple meters: 3/4 time, 3/2 time, 3/8 time. And then finally, you have 3 examples of quadruple meters: 4/4, which is the most common. In fact, sometimes you might see a big C in the music, and not a fractional looking thing, not this meter. So that tells you that it's common time. 4/16, 4/8. So all of those are going to have 4 beats to a measure. So if 2, 3, or 4 is the top number in your meter, then it is a simple meter. Anything else? Well, then it's compound. Compound examples are at the bottom of this page. 6/8 time, which is probably the most common compound meter. You see 6/8 a lot. 9/8, 12/8, 5/4, 7/4, 6/16. All of these are examples of meters that are not simple. They are therefore compound. So I want you to be prepared on a test to be able to tell me the difference between simple and compound. I'll have a list of meters, and I'll ask you to tell me which ones in the list are simple or which ones in the list are compound. So the ones that have 2, 3, or 4 as the top number will be simple. Everything else will be compound. One other term under the heading of rhythm that I would like to share with you is called syncopation. Syncopation, some of you are probably big fans of a show that's running right now called Dancing with the Stars. And I remember a show growing up called American Bandstand. And on this particular show, they would have all the new tunes that were out, and then Dick Clark, the host of the show, would play a brand new song. And then he would ask somebody who had just been on the dance floor, well, what did you think of this particular song? And there came a catchphrase. And I think this is the reason why I tuned in and watched American Bandstand a lot during my growing up years. I always wanted to see if they might say something different, but everybody typically said, well, it has a good beat and you could dance to it. A song that has a good beat might also mean that it has a consistent beat, a consistent set of accents as it's moving through time. Once ensemble music became more fashionable, then there's a particular beat in each measure that's given a little bit more of an accent than others, so that we can all stay together, because sometimes we don't watch the conductor as much as we possibly should. So if we were doing something in 3/4 time, which is also called waltz time, then the first beat, the downbeat of that measure, is the most heavily accented. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so we count with that heavy accent on the first beat. The meaning of syncopation, this next term, means that you have a disruption of the normally accented beat. Things are going to be shifted, but just temporarily, just for a moment. And that's the most important word in that definition, a temporary shifting or upsetting of the normally accented beat. Because if you just permanently move the accented beat to, say, the second beat of each measure and left it there, then you're still going to have a regular system. Every 3 notes you have the heavy accent. So it must be momentary. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 is the idea of syncopation. You have to upset the normally accented beat. I would like for you to listen to a particular composition by a Polish composer named Friedrich Chopin, who we'll talk about much later in the semester. Chopin, being from Poland, never forgot his Polish heritage, and although he lived a very short lifetime, he wrote many compositions that brought to life for him and for his people that loved his music, his nationality. So you hear a lot of national music from Chopin, one of which is the national dance from Poland, the Mazurka. He turned to the Mazurka a great deal during his life. I would like for you to listen to the Mazurka in F sharp minor, Opus 59, number 3, Opus is a catalog number. So the Opus family actually tried to go through and put together chronologically as best as they could the composers' compositions, and you'll find that Opus number for a lot of the other composers as well. So take a listen to that, and you'll hear bum bum ba da 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 ba da da bum ba da da bum ba da da. This melody that has all of these accents that just kind of fall all over the place. It doesn't have a good beat. It would be hard to dance to this, and so but then the music eases up, and you have a little regular pattern. But that beginning phrase starts off the piece, and then it eases off, and then it comes back again. So listen for the disruption and all the different many accents that are going on at that particular time. So this concludes our first three primary areas of music: melody, harmony, and rhythm. Our next topic will be the secondary areas of music, and we'll start with those in our next session.